Hello again, everybody. This is Jerry Serino from the Median Podcast. Thank you, as always, so much for joining me. Really appreciate you being here. And I ask you to please follow us on all the different social media links, all the different podcast apps as well. We would love for you to follow and subscribe to all of our social media and everywhere you can find us. It really helps and is very appreciated. Go to fromthemedian.org as well, and you can connect with us there and see prior shows, and you're welcome to communicate with us too. We'd always love to have that. My guest today is Dr. Janet Smith. She is a retired professor of moral theology from the Sacred Heart Seminary in Detroit. And I'm very excited to talk to you, Dr. Smith. But first and foremost, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes, my pleasure. So tell me a little bit about, hopefully a lot of our listeners know what does it mean to be a professor of moral theology? How would you describe that?
Well, moral theology is the Catholic Church's teaching on ethics, and it draws both upon philosophy, natural law, and scripture. So it's looking at how we are to behave in this world to be a good Christian. A lot of difficult topics. So
Yeah.
it's not straightforward.
Yeah, well, especially in this day and age, and I'm sure over the course of your tenure, those topics have changed quite a bit from what they were even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, right? We're talking about things.
Almost yearly,
Yeah,
especially in bioethics. But
yeah,
even questions about, I mean, there's just war theory, but it doesn't always exactly correspond to the modern world. So
right.
you have to make some adjustment. You've got the principles, but you have to figure out how to apply the principles in anything to do with, management of ectopic pregnancies,
Hmm.
this sort of thing. It's very difficult. Transgenderism is a whole new thing. It's pretty obvious if you know even a small amount about Catholic anthropology, but how to speak about these things and deal with the confusion of the modern age. We don't share much in common anymore, as far as, in a certain sense, even just good common sense. You can't
Hmm.
depend upon that. The world starts on very false principles. For instance, my body is mine to do with whatever I want. Well,
Right.
it's not simply true. It's a gift from God, and we have to respect it as this great gift that God has given us. Well, if you start from those two different perspectives, you're going to end in two very different places. So,
Right.
um, I mean, the young men that I taught in seminary, of course, accepted those first principles, but getting them to know what the modern first principles are and how misleading they are and how to talk people out of them or persuade them that they're false is another thing entirely.
Yeah. So I want to go through a number of issues and ask you to speak to them
Right?
from your knowledge and expertise. And I want to start off with so you actually talk a lot about and teach a lot about contraception, and I think there could be an argument that that may be one of the most, if not the most, controversial in a way, because even many Christian denominations, or maybe even most, you'll know this or not, are supportive of all sorts of contraception and the pill and the like. Tell us the perspective on contraception.
It's a complicated issue, as you said. That's the talk I'm going to be giving in Cleveland. Will be on based on my
Hmm.
sort of signature talk, contraception. Why not? Though I've updated it. There's lots of new information that's out there, and I think crowds are more receptive now than they were 30 years ago. We've come to question the medical establishment. COVID taught us about being skeptical about a lot. What the current administration is doing in respect to vaccines has been shocking to most people's systems. So I think more and more people are beginning to say just because the experts say it's a good thing doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Right.
Um, One of the most wonderful things I discovered in updating my data for my talk was that whereas maybe 30 years ago, if 2% of women used some form of natural family planning, which is a way of spacing your children without using any devices or chemicals, now it's at 14%. 14 from 2 to 14%, in a world that thinks that in a certain sense babies are the enemy and they spoil relationships, and if you have them you have to have the exact number you want at the exact time you want, and in a certain sense exactly what you want, a boy or a girl, or some people have abortions for sex selection purposes. So we've begun to think that we're completely in control of whatever our body does, and we can have whatever we want whenever we want it. Again, as I mentioned at the outset, the Christian Catholic view is entirely different. Children are an enormous gift from God. Instead of being a threat to a marriage and to intimacy between spouses, they actually are. They facilitate better relationships between the spouses and make for a much happier home and a more meaningful life. So first, you almost have to convince people of two things. One thing is that babies are good. They're delightful. They are demanding, but most of us need those kinds of demands in our lives to make us become better human beings. Most everybody who's had children regrets not having had more. That's a remarkable thing. I read something the other day on X about a man who said when he was in his early 20s, he led a pretty wild masculine life. And he said now he's in his late 20s, he's married with children. And he said at that moment when he's typing this out, he's sitting in a diner somewhere playing Monopoly with his kids. And he says, I get infinitely more joy from this moment than I ever did being a wild guy meeting a hot babe in a bar and going bungee jumping with her. He said, this is what is meaningful. And it takes people a while to figure that out. So what does that have to do with contraception? I mean, contraception makes people think it makes sense to have sex without any thought or preparation for children. And sex becomes something entirely selfish, as opposed, you're using the other person, allowing the other person to use you. You're not enjoying the full, really the full, you're perverting sex, as opposed to, in the Christian view, it's a gift that you actually give to another person, that your sexuality belongs to the person you marry, all right? It's a gift that you give to them. And you want to give them a pure gift. You want to give them a gift that's not sullied by disease or by wildly giving it away to others in totally meaningless situations. But for someone to be able to approach the person they're going to marry and say, I've never had sex with anyone. I knew you'd come along and I knew you'd be special. And I have something I want to share with you I've never shared with anyone else. And I want to build a family with you. It's not that I just want to have sex with you. I want to make more little yous in this world, more little me's. And they're going to be what occupy our time and our lives. That's an incredibly beautiful thing to say to another person, where unfortunately contraception has led people to think that sex outside of marriage makes perfect sense. You kind of live with the person for a couple years and you decide, well, we might as well get married. We don't fight that much and the sex is pretty good, and who wants to start all over again? So you get married, and then you have to start thinking about, do we want children and how many? And you might disagree about this. And also, let me stop there just in case you have some input. I've got lots to say, but I'll try to.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's great. You are going to be speaking. I'm going to have the chance to meet you in person in less than a week or a week from today, or maybe at the Bringing America Back to Life here in Cleveland at the 2026 conference. So looking forward to a more in-depth. The contraception one is, I'm fully in support of our position as Catholics. My wife and I have 8 kids, so I think that's pretty self-evident. And I'm the second oldest of 9 myself. So there we are. But in regards to the health aspect of contraception, I have spoken to people that will talk about, they will make the points that you have made about the intimacy and responsibility and how it's better to not use artificial contraception. But then there's also the health aspect of it. Can you share some of that with us?
Oh, yes. Luckily, I mean, I started speaking on this early 1990s, okay, when not much was really known about how bad the pill was, or at least it wasn't widely known. Actually, it's been known since the pill was invented, but
Hmm.
it's one of those many things that the pharmaceutical companies would like to minimize because the money that they make from selling chemical contraceptives is insanely huge. To manage something that's a healthy condition, there's nothing unhealthy about being a fertile individual. And as a matter of
Hmm.
fact, it means you're healthy if you're fertile. And what you're doing when you're taking a chemical contraceptive is you're messing with your fertility. It puts in a woman's body the hormones, artificial forms of the hormones that she would have if she were pregnant. Because the chemical contraceptives are trying, if you want to use the word, deceive the woman's body into thinking or it's pregnant. Because if you're pregnant, you can't get pregnant. So if you have the chemicals in your body that are the same chemicals that are there when you're pregnant, they prevent ovulation, and you can't get pregnant unless you ovulate. And while you're pregnant, you don't ovulate. So they put a woman's body in a state of pseudo pregnancy, right? That on the face of it, that doesn't make any sense that you would take a healthy adult human being and thwart a major part of her being. And it's not just, I mean, there's all sorts of bad side effects, migraine headaches, depression, weight gain, a reduced sex drive. That's very interesting. Most women,
Hmm.
for a significant part of their pregnancy, don't have a lot of interest in having sex because they're already pregnant. And what, biologically speaking, what drives us sexually for women is really the body's desire to be pregnant. All right. God has made us in such a way that at the time of the month when we ovulate, our sexual desires are the strongest. All right.
Hmm.
You use contraception, you're suppressing those desires. So women can kind of feel a flatness as far as their sexual desires are concerned when they're on the chemical contraceptives. They go off of it, and all of a sudden they say, "Whoa, where'd this come from?" A
Hmm.
very lively, wonderful sexual drive, which we're supposed to have. Um, so, and the so yeah, weight gain, migraines, depression, reduced sex drive, common side effects of the chemical contraceptives. Um, there's an incredible increase in breast cancer. And because you understand this, I mean, it's just like a little bit, it's like abortion. A,
Hmm.
a woman's body is not have the right hormones. And so they can affect the development of breast tissue. They can cause heart attacks, increased cancer, all sorts of bad side effects that a woman really has to sit down and read very carefully the 33 counterindications in the packet of any contraceptive pills that she gets.
Hmm.
Um, a fascinating and much better known than when I was working on this. I started researching these topics again in the 90s, and by the late 1990s, people were realizing that hormones were very much changing male female relationships um, on a chemical basis. All right. Because a woman's um, fertility cycle, a woman honestly is not the same chemical person day by day. A woman that's in a fertile phase of her life, every day her hormones are either moving towards ovulating, ovulating, and then subsiding from ovulation or gestating a child, right? So day by day, we're not the same person. Men find that out. Men find out that, oh my God, I don't know who I'm with day by day. I don't know.
I don't know what you mean.
You know what I mean, right?
I don't. Okay, but go ahead.
Even the thing of, I thought I married the sweetest woman in the world, and she's kind of shrewish. Where did that come from? Well, I'm going to say that's PMS. And believe me, she doesn't know either. She wakes up in the morning and she doesn't know whether she's going to be the sweetest person in the world or a shrew. She has no idea. until she talks to some male, right? And that reveals to her, or I'm so happy to see you. You're so adorable. And men say, I'm the same guy I was yesterday. You're the one who's changed. And that's something that men and women have to both adjust to, because a woman is chemically a different person day by day. Now, God has given women and men what are called pheromones. And pheromones are the hormones that, in a certain sense, alert us to that there's someone very attractive in this room. All right. I mean, 30 men can walk in a room, and a woman's definitely not equally attracted to all of them. I mean, so, oh my gosh, now that one, whoo, I'd like to talk to him. All right. And often those hormones are quite reliable, even for someone who is matched with a person for fertility purposes. All right. If a woman's using the contraceptive pill, there's no difference, one or another. And often she will choose a man that's not as well matched to her in almost every respect if she's using the contraceptive pill. When women go off the pill, if they've been contracepting, having sex, yes or no, contracept within marriage, then decide to go off contraception because they want to have a child, they now have a totally different physical relationship with this man. He may not be nearly as attractive as he was when she was on the pill. As a matter of fact, women are said to choose sort of less masculine men when they're on the pill. They want a friend. When they're fertile, they want a very masculine man. It makes a big difference. So doctors sometimes call the pill the divorce pill, all right, because it's such a contributor to, she finds out she's not the same person. There's a marvelous book out now that every woman should read. It's by a woman named Sarah Hill, and it's called Your Brain on Birth Control. Sarah Hill, Your Brain on Birth Control. And it makes all the points I'm making now. She's, unlike myself, I'm a philosopher, theologian. She is a scientist, an evolutionary psychological biologist, something like this. And she says everything I just said, with all sorts of stories and anecdotes and scientific evidence for this. So, and women do discover this. I mean, if they go off the pill, they do find they have a much more lively and healthy sexual drive. And the kind of man that attracts them can be quite different from before, while they were on the pill. Mm-hmm. You can live with this man for the rest of your life. You better choose one that's, a good match.
Yeah.
You find that the stuff is not.
Yeah, very, very intriguing. Very, very interesting. I'm looking to my left, as I often do during these, because I'm looking at my other screen. Just by the way, just so you know, I'm not ignoring you when I'm looking over here, and I'm looking at janetsmith.org. That's where you can go and follow Janet. You're writing a lot of articles and blogs and things here, and really intriguing topics. So I would encourage everybody to go to janetsmith.org and check it out. And I'm looking forward to hearing you speak further at the Bringing America Back to Life conference in a week. What are some of the other topics that are really hot in a sense, or I guess popular, that you've had to deal with as a moral theologian?
Well, some of it. Well, first, let me say thank you for drawing attention to my website. You can, they're free. You can listen to all my talks on there, and there's lots of them on lots of different topics. And Cleveland is going to be taping the talk I give there, which will be, in a sense, the outline is pretty much the same. I've kind of flipped the beginning and the end, but the same topics are covered, again, with better, more updated data. And actually, things are looking a little better, which is just a delightful thing.
Right.
It's a crazy, wonderful thing. I didn't know that I'd live long enough to see any kind of little turn. But very much because I've worked on contraception, and contraception changes our understanding of so many things. As I said, babies, relationships, meaning of life, all of these things are affected by this tiny little pill that people thought was going to bring great happiness into the world. If you could control your fertility and you can have sex with whoever you want to, then woo, good times. Well, life isn't like that. Life is all about commitment, dedication, fidelity. Those are the things that make people happy, not just unfettered, in a certain sense, unfettered lust,
Right.
seeking pleasure. Well, there was a huge uptick in acceptance of homosexuality after contraception became widely available. So, what do they have to do with each other? I mean, one is sex between man and a woman, and one is between members of the same sex. Well, part of it is that once you say that sex is okay, that doesn't have a baby making power to it, then why not contraceptive sex? And if you're having sex with someone that's been contraceptive, it's almost like the male and femaleness doesn't take as big a part in this action as it should. It should. I mean, it's the most. It should be the most profoundly meaningful act, just about, that you engage in this world. You give yourself to another person in a way that could create a new human being. That's huge. That means you should be dedicated to this person for the rest of your life. It is a statement of profound commitment. I love you so much, I'm willing to be a parent with you. Boing, right? That's huge, right? Contraceptive sex is momentary. It has no long-term vision in it. You can't take out the baby-making power entirely, and that's why there's so many abortions, because the body does what it does, even when we try to thwart it.
Yeah.
But if you're engaging in sex with someone with whom you have no intention of being a parent, it's immensely irresponsible and could be devastating to future children. They could be killed through abortion. They could be deprived of a father for the whole of their life. Well, homosexual sex is obviously not procreative. And so, but if you say it's okay to have sex with anybody I love, because that's what it's all about, just body to body, flesh to flesh. And you say, okay, well, there's nothing wrong then with homosexual unions. But honestly, it's pretty much the baby making power that makes heterosexual sex, that it necessarily involve commitment, because the baby making power means, again, I'm willing to be a parent with you. Children need parents who have a lifetime commitment. I'm prepared to have a lifetime commitment with you. That's what you're saying. Contraceptive sex and homosexual sex is just momentary. There's no commitment written into it. I mean, homosexual men have a phenomenal rate of promiscuity. Partner after partner after partner. They get tired of that. It becomes degrading. And they say, what I really want is a lifetime partner. Well, there's really no reason to lifetime partner with a member of the same sex.
Right, right.
You know, and you don't. You could, I mean, in marriage, you have to work at it, of course. You get this person, they're irritating, you're irritating, they're disappointing, you're disappointing. There's all sorts of times when you want to say, I've had it, I'm out of here. Or you might be so disappointed in yourself. You say, I'm making this person's life miserable because I'm such a, whatever you are. You know, you could be an addict. You could just be a really annoying person who found someone to love you remarkably in the midst of your annoyingness. And so, but you want to improve. You want to work on it because you've got kids. And you say, I didn't only make a pledge to him, I made a pledge to these children. So in order to keep my pledge to these children, I have to be better at fortifying the pledge I've made to my spouse.
Yeah.
And marriages can get very bad and then get very good because spouses say, we made a vow, we made a pledge to each other and to our children. There's no reason to do that in a same-sex relationship. A person gets really annoying, leave. You don't have to do all that work. That's work. You find another person. Well, that's not so good either. It's shallow after shallow after shallow.
Yeah. The time has flown by. I can't believe it, but thank God you're going to be here in Cleveland at the Bringing America Back to Life conference. By the time this records, it'll just be a couple of days away. Please go to janetsmith.org. All the information will be right there. Professor Janet Smith, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate your questions. Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. And thank all of you for listening to this episode of From the Median Podcast. We will see you next time.